G'day guys, Cameron here again from Human Electrical and Design with today's episode of Ask a Sparkie. So what we're doing is we're going through a lot of questions we're getting on our Facebook page and what I'm getting offline as well in relation to the industry. And what I get asked a lot is, from generally speaking, a lot of the younger guys and girls out there is, how do I get into the trade? How do I be a Sparkie, and what's involved with being an electrician? So personally, I think it's a fantastic trade. Okay, something you should know about the electrical trade is it's one of the two licensed trades. Okay, so you've got plumbing and you've got electrical. Okay, so what that means is you're not allowed to carry out any electrical work whatsoever unless you are either a qualified electrician or if you are an apprentice electrician, okay, so working for an electrician under supervision, okay. So that really cuts down from the people who can carry out the work, okay, which is great for the industry. It keeps it regulated and keeps a good industry to be in, and quite a well-paying one, which is fantastic for the long run. So there's lots of areas to get into in being an electrician, but one of the best ways to get into being a Sparkie, okay, is if you're calling up lots of people trying to get an apprenticeship, it's not working. Go out there if you've got the time, and if you don't, make some time and go and do your Cert 2 or a pre-apprenticeship. And what this does is it pretty much covers the first 6 months of trade school that you would do. Okay, so to become an electrician, you do 3 years of trade school, where you go to trade school 1 day a week for 3 years, and then you do 12 months of purely 5 days a week on the tools before you sit all your exams to become an electrician. Okay, so if you do your pre-apprenticeship, you can do that either going to TAFE and doing it. You can do VCAL if you're still at school. So if you're doing year 11, I believe, or year 12, you can do VCAL, where you do a couple of days of schoolwork, you do a couple of days of trade school, and then you do work experience with an electrician. Okay, so that's a really good way to get into it. Okay, because what it does is when you finish that and you go asking for a job through an employer, is the employer knows that you've done some basic OH&S stuff, and you've done all these the really early stages of learning how to do the trade. So you're a lot more attractive than someone who's coming straight out of school, doesn't know the difference between a blade screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver. So it's a really good thing to do. And not only that, it takes 6 months off your apprenticeship. Okay, so it equates for the first 6 months of your trade school. So if you do manage to land a job, you can then start trade school with guys who have already done their first 6 months of trade school. Okay, so it does take time off your apprenticeship, so you can be qualified sooner than if you're waiting. Okay, so that's one good way to get into it. If you're older and mature age, you can still do that. You can be quite attractive too for a potential employer if you do have other trade experience. Okay, so personally, I'd love to bring on a mature age apprentice. It might cost a little bit more to employ, but generally speaking, you get quite often you might be able to get a better employee because they're going to have a few trade skills and life skills to get into it. Okay, so that's how you get in, and there's lots of different avenues. If you're still finding it hard, is you can go. There is recruiting. Okay, so you can go to to like one of your MEGT, all these placement type programs where you can get on the books, and they'll basically rent you out to employees who are looking for apprentices. Okay, so this is a good way to get into it if you can't get in. It can lead to a bit of you sort of go through a few different employers over the time, which can be a little bit. How you going? I suppose I could say you might get used as labour, okay, but if you get onto some good people during that, you can actually learn a big variety of different areas of the trade, okay. So that's one way to get in if you can't get if you just can't get an apprenticeship through the normal means. All right, so when you get in, you can there's all different areas. You can be a residential electrician, okay, so, and you're not restricted to any of them, but you can be a resi electrician where you're working in people's homes. That's great if you want to do a lot of local work. Okay, so you can pick up a lot of local work doing downlight, switchboard upgrades, renovations, extensions for local builders. So that's a good way to do it. You can you can get into your commercial and retail side, so you do a lot of office fit outs, retail space fit outs, shop fitting, that type of stuff. So that's a pretty cool space, especially in the middle of summer. If you've got air conditioning inside, that's not a bad way to go. What else have you got? You got your civil work, so you can get into doing undergrounds. So a lot of Sparkies, they might do a lot of work doing undergrounds for new developments, mains upgrades for sporting complexes, all that sort of stuff. So if you like sitting on an excavator and running conduits underground and getting muddy in winter, that's a pretty good way to go too. So that's good fun. Instrumentation, so you can get into instrumentation, so you can work in power plants and big industrial, like the mines and whatnot, and do your FIFO, fly in, fly out sort of work. So that's pretty good stuff, especially when you're qualified. You can start on Monday, buy a Ferrari on Friday. Pretty good money in doing that, especially if you're a single guy or girl. Really good to fly in, fly out and earn the big bucks. You're a bit restricted then, obviously, in what you're learning. So I always say in your apprenticeship, try and do a various range of the trade, so you're not just doing the one aspect of it, because if you're working on the mines all the time and then you want to try and start a business later or get a job later doing some residential stuff, you're sort of going to be behind the 8 ball. So keep that in mind. And then when you start getting old and crusty and your knees aren't working very well, you can always upskill and get into inspecting. Okay, so you can be an inspector, go around, and we have to get all switchboards and whatnot inspected. So that's a pretty good way to get into it, especially when you're getting a little bit older. So that's my rundown on the trade. If you are thinking about it, go for it. It is one of the best trades I believe that you can get into. So yeah, best of luck. If you got any more questions, please comment and ask me below, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.